Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Steel City Underground WTF podcast. My name is Terry Fletcher. This is week 9 of What the Football and what was going on in the industry. And it's interesting because we've got a lot of just bizarre happenings. And I don't know if it was because we had a full week of the full moon after the Halloween week or what was going on, but there were some pretty interesting things that happened. So first of all, I want to talk to you about the Chargers game. So, it's really sad because they have now lost 9 games to their opponents in the West, in the AFC West, and also they can't seem to close out the fourth quarters. And it's just really sad, I think, what's happening with the LA Chargers, and I'm still having a hard time with that, as LA, not San Diego, now that because I'm in California. But that poor team, they are just having their struggles. But let's switch now to the Colts. And one of the things on the Colts game, they were playing the Ravens. And I hate to always pick on the refs. No, I'm going to correct that. I love picking on the refs, especially when they deserve it. And the Ravens-Colts game, did you see what they deemed was clearly an incomplete pass? And it was bobbled. There was space between it. It hit the ground. I mean, it could not have been even more clear. And then they actually overturned it from New York. So Ron Rivera, who continues to suck wind, even Tony Dungy on his Twitter, he said that not only was it a bad call, but we should just get together a bunch of fifth graders that could make a better call. Now, that game was won by the Ravens 24-10, and I would put an asterisk by it, but there was also something kind of funny during that game if you were watching it, and that was where Philip Rivers to running back Jonathan Taylor, he fumbles, that's his running back fumbles, and then Chuck Clark picks it up and hurdles Philip Rivers for a touchdown. So that's one thing that, I don't know, you can't make that kind of stuff up. That was crazy. One of the sad notes on a WTF What the Football would have to be in Washington. So the Washington football team, quarterback Kyle Allen, it was brutal. We were watching it on the Red Zone channel, which they flip back and forth, and all of a sudden he gets hit and his ankle goes one way and his foot goes the other. Nobody needs to see that visual, but he has a broken ankle. They said dislocated plus a fracture, so that's a broken ankle. So who comes in? Alex Smith, who, remember, 12 surgeries, almost lost his leg. For those of youngsters out there, we have Joe Theismann that also had a leg injury. So there's some pretty sad karma going on in Washington when it comes to quarterbacks and their legs out there. But he's out, and now Alex Smith will come in. I already heard people talking about, this is going to be Alex Smith for the Comeback Player of the Year. To be Comeback Player of the Year, you have to win your game. I appreciate everything that Alex Smith has gone through to get back into the game, but I think it's going to be Big Ben. That's just my call there. I just think it's going to be Big Ben, who basically had tendons pulled off his bone if you ended up getting to watch any of those series that he did on YouTube about the comeback. And we're now 8-0, so I think it may be Big Ben for Comeback Player of the Year. But let's go to Kansas City. So they were down at halftime to Carolina, 13-14. But, you really can never call them out, or I should say you can't ever cancel them out or think that they're not going to come back, because they did come back to win 33-31, of course. McCaffrey could be out another 4 to 6 weeks, they say, because now he hurt his shoulder after already missing 6 games this season with his ankle. So that's kind of a sad thing when it comes to Carolina, because I know they're trying. But here's the thing with Andy Reid. He panics. And I don't know if you've noticed this, because obviously that's the Super Bowl winning, people that are coming back. But he tends to, when he gets close in these games, he tries to do these fancy schematics. And it's like, just put the ball down the middle. Put it in Patrick Mahomes' hands. He's your, $500 million player, and let him do what he does. He's proven himself to just deal with that, but it's just kind of interesting when you see that. But yeah, I think the road to the Super Bowl could definitely be through Kansas City. I'm just hoping that somebody knocks them off before we might have to play them, because if we end up being the number 1 seed, which would be awesome, we would end up with a bye the first round of the playoffs and may not have to see them if somebody else can knock them off. So that's what I'm hoping for. So for as far as WTF, let's go to the Steelers game. Okay, I don't know about everybody else, but I was hyperventilating the entire game. First of all, I don't know if you've ever seen on Twitter Skip from Undisputed, him and Shannon Sharp. Oh my gosh, that guy just needs to zip it, and kept saying, oh, the refs were the reason that Dallas lost that game. Are you kidding me? Did you not see that game? We had 2 PI calls not called against Dallas. Even Tony Romo said that Chase Claypool was getting mugged, and he's like, oh, but it's kind of high and it may be not catchable. That doesn't matter. If they're getting mugged and it is a tackle on when you're trying to get, when you're trying to at least make an attempt to catch the ball, that is pass interference. So I have a video of it if you guys go to my Twitter feed at Terry and SoCalif. But it just drives me crazy when I hear him whining about his Cowboys. And the other thing, if Tony Romo is going to continue to call Dallas games, then somebody needs to tell him that his bias is showing, kind of like when you deal with Michael Irving. I mean, he's like, oh, and just to think that the Steelers are going to tank or lose this game to Dallas, he needs to be quiet. He was kind of bugging me all the way through it. But here's what happened in our game that just, oh my gosh, talk about WTFs. In part of the game, Chris Boswell attempts a 54-yard field goal. He misses, but then after a false start, we have to try it from 59, which doesn't even sound like something Tomlin would do. He usually would just either take a knee and go in after that, but he did, and it was good. That's the story of our season right now. So we are 13-6 at the half, and then we have a blocked extra point. And that we just had terrible special teams, blocked extra point, dealing with a blocked field goal. The guy's just coming up between the middle. And I heard Tomlin's presser after the fact, and he was clear. He's saying, look, there's nobody that's helping Boz out here, and this isn't good. So he was not happy with that at all. And then trick plays before the half in Dallas. So we've got about 6 minutes in the left in the second quarter. And we have 2 3-and-outs in a row. So another punt, and it was a good punt from Barry, but it was fielded by Dallas at the 6, and Cedric Wilson passes it backwards to their player CJ Goodwin, who's by the way, he's across the field on the other side, and as he's going down behind that area, he's pretending he pulled a hamstring. I'm like, dude, what the football? Then he runs down the sideline to inside the 20. Now, luckily they had a penalty, so they had to bring it out. And their special teams was working, but ours not so much. But we were very flat-footed on that, and the fact that we were able to hold them was just crazy. And my question is here, and this is to Randy Fichtner, who I am just ready to, I don't know, that guy, I don't know what he's doing out there. First of all, when Ben gets into a rhythm, he stalls him. So Ben's in a passing rhythm at some point in the second quarter, and he stalls him and puts in 2 running backs that have nothing to do with getting yardage. And then James Conner on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, and he doesn't put him in, or I should say, where was James Conner? In the second quarter, we're at the 45-yard line, and we're 4th and 1, and we put in Snell, not Conner. You want a big back right there. And now we are turning over on downs. Then Gilbert, again, the 4th string quarterback in Dallas, opens it up with a 15-yard run. Come on, man. I mean, talk about a come on, man moment. Randy Fichtner's lost his mind. Keeps their offense on the field for another 5 minutes and a touchdown. And it drives me crazy when they do that. Ben has to go in at the halftime, because after a touchdown, he was slammed from both sides and injured his left knee. And all of us seriously took like this huge breath going, oh no, because he started limping, and he limped that touchdown out. I mean, it was, talk about a WTF moment. He comes out of the tunnel, though, the second half, and you could hear the cheers, not the boos, the cheers, the music, and the terrible towels. It was all Steelers there. It was nothing blue and white going on in Dallas. and he led us down the field for 2 scores. He had 113 passer rating at the end of the game, pulled out a win at 24-17. Again, come from behind win. He had 300 plus yards and 3 touchdowns. But this was a heart attack game. Yes, we are 8-0, but the Steelers were favored by 15.5 when I placed my bet, and they should have blown out this team. This should not have been another come from behind win, and it just seemed like there was no game plan. Now, in saying that, I understand that you can't always be up for every game. I mean, let's face it, 3rd game on the road, we play the Titans, and they were the ones that screwed up our bye. We played a division rival who was doing very well with the MVP and Ravens. And so now we're coming into Dallas with a 4th-string quarterback, again, 3rd week on the road, and it's tough. It's definitely tough to be up all the time. But you have to at least have a game plan. Have a game plan. I mean, luckily we have an opportunistic defense, but our defense wasn't stopping them in all aspects, in all phases, and our special teams was terrible. And so hopefully that is something we work on as we head into Cincinnati this weekend. So let's move on to the Buffalo game. So Buffalo, and this was Seattle, and everybody's talking right now about Russell Wilson because he just throws touchdown after touchdown. But he had more interceptions again, just like last week, 2 interceptions and 2 turnovers. And Josh Allen had 3 touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. And he actually, and we extend our sympathies regarding his grandma. His grandma died over the weekend, and so he came out and played for her, and he won and beat Seattle 44-34. So that was a definite, what the football. It's great that he can come out and do that, and wherever you get your motivation, that is pretty awesome there. Now let's talk about Sunday Night Football. Oh my goodness. Oh man. So every single pundit, didn't matter if it was on NFL Network, ESPN, Fox, CBS, it didn't matter. They basically were anointing Brady, the king of the, kingdom there, just saying that, he's also in the MVP race, and Drew Brees had no shot at winning this, and they were just going to be going back and forth, seeing who could duel each other for the most touchdowns ever. Well, I don't know what you guys saw, but what I saw was a mess, an absolute mess in Tampa Bay. And New Orleans ended up beating Tom Brady, I should say Tampa Bay, but they beat Tom Brady 38-3. It was awful. I actually started watching it at 0-0. I went in to record a work podcast. I come out 45 minutes later to watch the rest of the game, and it's 28-0. I'm like, wait, what? New Orleans. I was like, what happened? And I go back and take a look, and there are interceptions, there are fumbles. It was awful. Tom Brady had 3 interceptions. Adding Antonio Brown added nothing. Brady was sacked 5 times. And then I had to step out for a minute, and NFL radio in my car that we're playing the game, and they had said Mike Evans was on the sideline throwing his helmet and was having a fit for not getting the ball. Well, I don't blame him. Godwin's back. Antonio Brown is now staying at Brady's house, and all he's been able to do is really read the playbook. There's been no on the field, practice really. And then you've got Mike Evans, who's such a talented receiver, not getting any touches. And I would be mad if I was him too. I'd be totally pissed. So, it was the worst loss of Brady's career. And this is what I noticed. And I don't know if you noticed this, but I noticed these subtleties. And this is why I love our quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger. In the post-presser, they were talking to Brady about how this was such a terrible loss, worst of his career, and what can he do, and is this motivation? His response was, yes, this was a terrible loss for the team, and the team needs to do this better, and the team. He basically blamed it on the team. You look at our game where we won, and Ben came out and just rallied the troops with an injury in the second half to bring us to a win, and he said he had to play better. He has playmakers, and he's so happy he has them, but he needs to play better in the first half. That's what a leader does. They take the game on their shoulders, and they basically take and motivate their players. They don't talk down to them. And for me, right now in New Orleans, they've got a family going on there. They've got a team that knows what to expect from each other. in Tampa Bay, this is the what the football moment. They've got individual talented players who don't trust each other. And that's what's going on there. They don't trust who's throwing it. Brady's not somebody who throws long, remember. He's somebody who dink and dunks and then hopes that player can then run for 50 yards. And so he just doesn't get what he's got there. And it'll be interesting to see how long that 43-year-old lasts. And then Monday Night Football. Oh my goodness. So yeah, everybody wanted to watch the 2-5 Pats and the 0-7 Jets play on Monday night. Not so much. So it was actually a decent back and forth game, but you've got your Cam Newton, who I actually really like Cam Newton, and I feel bad that doesn't have a lot of help on what's going on the Patriots right now. But you've got Joe Flacco now who's in because the quarterback for the Jets has been injured or out, and I actually think he also got benched for a little bit. But they are now they went from 0-7 to 0-8 because the Patriots actually pulled out a win with a last-minute field goal, and they're now 3-5. And yes, the Jets are 0-8. So my question is, does Adam Gase still get to keep his job this week? I mean, it's just crazy to me what they allow him to do. So my last part of our WTF, it's some unfortunate news as this is being recorded. Vance McDonald tested positive for COVID. And he also traveled with the team and played in the Dallas game. So whoever was in immediate contact with Vance, and he's a friend of Ben's, and so a close friend on the team. So Ben and Vince Williams, and I think we have one other player. I think could have been Jalen Samuels. They are all in COVID protocol. Now, they've all tested negative, which is a good thing, but that means if you've come in contact, you have to have 5 days of negative tests. So it's precautionary. They have to be tested 2 more times, and if they're negative on Saturday, they can play Sunday. And I'm playing hard because the Bengals posted on Twitter they're, a player disrespecting a terrible towel, basically wiping his feet with it, and they said Steelers week, and I'm just like, you guys never learn. But here's where my WTF is, and it's going to be, okay, Mike Tomlin, you're in your 14th year, and you are in your 14th year with Ben. So let's talk about this. Tomlin has a practice to play rule, and he has rarely, if ever, wavered from that in the past years. So I'm hoping that his practice to play rule includes this season Zoom quarterback meetings and virtual walkthroughs, and also Ben rehabbing. And because he is not allowed to be there, even if he wanted to be there, I'm hoping that he includes that as participation at practice. Because if Ben can quarantine for 5 days, comes out negative, and he can rest and rehab that knee a little bit, on Saturday, he's playing. He owns Cincinnati, and it's not just when Andy Dalton was there. He absolutely owns Cincinnati. So we're going to pray hard for that and really hope that it's not another what the football moment as we have this momentum going into Cincinnati. Actually, they're coming to our house this weekend. And when I say our house, I mean Steeler City. And you know what? Steel City really needs a win at home. And I really hope that we can get that. So Ben, we have prayers out to you. We hope you're going to be okay. And again, everyone, thank you for listening to the Steel City Underground What the Football podcast.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.